Welcome to the 2 Pages of Mystery podcast, now part of the Coil Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Rob Steele. As always, I need to make sure everyone understands the purpose of this show because some people just aren't getting it. Since it is really hard to get published these days by someone reputable, unless you've already been published by someone reputable, which makes no sense at all whatsoever, the purpose of this show is to get your short story published. No catch, no tricks. This way you can have something on your literary resume. Anyone who wants to send in a short mystery story is quite welcome to do so. All the rules, not that there are that many, are on the website 2pagesofmystery.com. Number 2, Pages of Mystery uses letters. Just works out that way. Send your friends there. That way you can all listen to the back catalog of shows, as well as get all the ebooks versions of the stories. For now, I can finally announce that since we have joined the Coil Entertainment Network, coming soon is going to be an actual physical book of the 2 Pages of Mystery stories. This is what we've been working up to, people. An actual physical book. This means that if you send in your story and you get put on the show, your story will be in 2 Pages of Mystery Volume 2, the actual book. And this is the part where you might get paid for your stories. Yeah, really, you can get paid for doing this. Not immediately, but it will happen. I would also like to thank iTunes, the Google Play Store, and the Happy Hour Network for passing the show along. And now, today's story. Lieutenant Cooper Wright, Hunter Greene-Black, and Aiden O'Connor team up to stop a serial arsonist in Matchbook. This might have just been the most complicated assignment in the whole Cooper Wright casebook. Not that I'm actually writing one. It started out simple enough. Well, I say simple. It started out as an arson case. Of course, Aiden O'Reilly was the first assigned to it. A nightclub down by the docks called Mike's was burnt to a crisp. But right in the middle of it, under an overturned wine glass, was a perfectly preserved matchbook bearing the logo for a place called Shula's. The catch was, there was no place called Shula's in town. So where'd the matchbook come from? And who gives out matchbooks anymore? I haven't seen a place that does that in, well, it's been quite a while. O'Reilly's investigation turned up a few suspects, but they were mainly performers at open mic nights that got heckled, so nothing terribly serious. The second club, Due South, brought a whole new list of suspects. Same deal, though. The wine glass in the matchbook. This time the matchbook said Zenith. Again, no place in town with that name. Not even a person with that name. Maybe a few televisions somewhere, but I doubt it. O'Reilly's suspect list now included a few more disgruntled acts. This time, there was money missing, so Hunter Greene-Black from robbery joined in the investigation. It wasn't until the third fire that I got called into the mess. This time, it wasn't a nightclub, it was a warehouse. Strangely, the one next door to where Richard May was hiding that Koenigsegg a while back. Now, there was a body. What's left of the wallet identified him as William Bale, comedian and musician. Billy Bale. I'd seen this guy perform once. He was pretty good as a performer. Unfortunately, now he's more of a charcoal briquette. Next to the body was an overturned glass with a matchbook underneath. The matchbook said Beaver Creek. I call in to Officer Tim Fay and have him check out the name Beaver Creek, but I'm not expecting anything. This case had just taken an unexpected turn. I suppose, now that homicide was called in, that I'd be put in charge of the case, but I didn't want to step on any toes. O'Reilly and Hunter are good people, and I'd like to stay on the good sides. We decide at the scene that each of us should treat it like separate cases. The arson, the robbery, the potential murder. but we should meet at the end of the day to swap notes. The others agree, and we start investigating in our own ways. Hunter Greene-Black heads back to the station to check on the evidence from the Due South Club. O'Reilly starts looking at what he calls ignition points. I check in with our coroner, Dr. Song-Ho Young, who is still examining our extra crispy victim. I'll have more for you after the full autopsy, but I can tell you this. It wasn't the fire that killed him. If you look at the skull, there are multiple fractures and this blow here to the neck. If the head wounds didn't kill him, this would have. His neck is completely broken. Technically, he was decapitated. If his skin and muscles weren't holding him together, his head would be somewhere else. There's an unexpected turn. Not really sure what it means for the case yet. Does it really have anything to do with the arsons at all? The warehouse could have just been the practice ground and Mr. Bale just happened to stumble upon it. But then, why would he be down here? I get a call from Officer Fay, and, as expected, there isn't a place called Beaver Creek within several hundred miles. Where are these matchbooks coming from? He also tells me that Mr. Bale was the one who rented this warehouse. His manager, Susan Husband, said he was practicing for an upcoming theater tour and wanted to get a feel for a larger room. Fay also ruled her out as a suspect since her contact information and subsequent checking put her on the wrong coast to have done it. A quick check of Mr. Bale's website shows that he did have a performance last night at a comedy club downtown called the Lavender Orange. I have no idea who names these clubs. Each name seems weirder than the last. The manager of this club turns out to also be the owner, Victor Burnham.
Yeah, Bill was here last night. He was killing them. He does that bit with the stick and the compass. Yeah, it's awesome. Gets them every time. Hey, why are you asking? He need an alibi?
I explained to Mr. Burnham that I'm investigating his homicide.
Oh, man, that's too bad. Bill was a really great guy. Always packed the house. That's why I hear he was doing a big tour. He was a really great guy. Really great. I'm going to miss him.
I asked if Mr. Bale had any enemies or anti-fans.
Nah, I mean, he was a comedian, so he gets hecklers occasionally. Who doesn't? None of them were that bad. I mean, there are some who get downright vicious, though. Had a guy in here a couple weeks ago, Mike Ryan. He was doing this act, and this guy up front just got evil on him. Mike's doing this bit on a funeral he went to, and the guy starts ripping Mike's mom and his family and just everything. Had to toss him. But nothing like that with Bill. Bill was cool.
Was Bill here on the night that guy went off on Bob?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I think he was. No, I know he was, because Bill helped bounce the guy. I mean, we got Phineas Jones over there, handles most of our bouncing, but this guy was slippery. Bill intercepted him and helped Finney get him out of here. We did call the cops. You probably got a record of it somewhere.
I thank Mr. Burnham for his time. Nice to hear about Phineas Jones. A brief conversation with him and he catches me up. He's on his meds now and working for a few clubs in the area as they need him. I'm glad he could get a job somewhere that works for him. It was about this time I got a call from O'Reilly. There's been another fire. This time at the Odyssey Club, and the matchbook was from El Dorado. No one was hurt, but there was a robbery. He and Hunter Greene-Black are investigating and would keep me up to date on what was going on. I filled him in on what I found out about Mr. Bale and headed back to the office to see if Officer Fay had turned up anything. And add a matchbook of the list of things to check out. When I get back, I'm surprised to see Detective Manny Vasquez at his desk. I thought he was on vacation. He tells me that cruise didn't go as planned. Against my advice, he went with the same cruise line I tried a while back. No one died on his cruise, at least not murdered anyway. Most of the crew and a lot of the passengers came down with food poisoning, and the ship just came back to port. Not the best vacation, I would imagine. He said Fay had caught him up on most of the case, and he'd done some digging of his own. I found a connection between all these clubs. There's kind of a secret owner to all of them, an investor, an old friend of yours, Onisim Orlov. Orlov was a guy I met a few cases ago, sports agent, former Russian gangster, unbelievably rich. I suppose I better go have a talk with him. The mansion looks as impressive as ever. This time, however, it's not early morning, and I catch Orlov outside under the hood of an early model Mustang, explaining something about the engine to a young, scantily dressed woman whose expression says she's interested, but if you look, you can tell she really isn't. On the bright side, he looks considerably less hungover. When he notices my approach, he tells her to scoot inside, my dear. I'll be in with you at a moment. Ah, Lieutenant Wright, good to see you again. I hope you are not coming to tell me another client has been murdered. No, not this time. Although you did come up in another case. I understand you own a number of clubs downtown, like the Odyssey and Due South. Yes, shame to hear about Due South. I like that. He paused and regarded me with a hint of cautious curiosity. Oh no, not Odyssey too. Is someone targeting my clubs? Is that why you're here? Let me guess. You think I torch my own clubs for what? For insurance? I assure you, Mr. Wright, that I do not need the money. Annika can attest to that. He said, pointing after the young woman who was entering his palace. I suppose if you have the money, you can get a scantily clad accountant. Probably a scantily clad anything if you put your mind to it. No, sir, I didn't think it was you, but I think someone might be targeting your clubs. To be honest, I didn't even know they were yours until about an hour ago. Your name came up, and I thought I better check with you to see if you had any ideas about who might want to torch your clubs, or maybe even kill Mr. Billy Bale. The comedian? He's dead? That is shame. He's played my club a few times. I like his material. Very funny man. I take his death as somehow related. I nod reflexively. I'm not supposed to discuss open cases, but it wasn't that hard to put that together. There was Heckler who was giving some people trouble a while ago, but nothing too bad. To be perfectly honest, I don't pay much attention to my nightclubs. Lieutenant. But I do make sure to have them run by people who make sure people have a good time. Let me get in touch with my people and I give you a call, yes? That sounded perfectly fair to me. I give him my card and tell him I look forward to hearing from him. I'll leave Orlov to tend to his accounting and head back to the office. On the way, I get a call from Manny, who has made a connection. I think I found a connection, boss. It has to do with the matchbooks. There aren't too many places that still give him out, so I check with some matchbook suppliers. There's this place in Nevada that makes custom matchbooks, and they have a sampler pack that they give to prospective clients. The pack includes El Dorado, Shula, and Beavers Creek. 2 samplers were sent to the city in the past several weeks, but both to the same guy, Tim Borga. I checked him for priors, and he has one complaint from the Lavender Orange for disturbing the peace. Damn, Manny's good. Good job, Manny. Got an address for me? Of course he does. And I immediately change my destination. Mr. Borga's apartment is on the corner of Horn and Whistler. From the parking lot, down the street a bit, I see the really tacky sign for August Acres. What is it about this neighborhood? Apartment 5C. I check the building before I go in. Fire escape on the south side of the building. I call in for backup to cover that exit. Why they don't do that on TV is a true mystery. They find the perp, get him cornered in an apartment building, and they always try to get away through the fire escape, which, of course, is never covered by anyone. Fictional cops. What can you do, though, right? Officers Tim Fay and Scott Walker respond and cover the fire escape and main entrance. And now, stairs. No elevator in this place. Kind of odd for a building today. At least it's a long staircase per flight. I hate those back and forth staircases. Even so, I'd hate to move in or out of a place like this. Just the boxes alone would kill me. Furniture? Forget about it. That, and I'm having trouble thinking these stairs are going to support me, much less a couch or something. That's out of the question. I might want to get the building inspector to come check this place out, just to keep me from coming back. It kind of reminds me of Axel Foley's apartment in the first Beverly Hills Cop movie, only more run down. I eventually get to 5C. Well, by process of elimination, it's 5C. None of the doors on this floor have a number, and only B and D have letters. The one in the middle has to be C, right? I bang on the door and call out, "Mr. Borga, police! We have some questions for you." I wait a few moments before repeating myself a bit more forcefully. I also try the doorknob. Not entirely unexpected that the door is locked. I don't have a warrant, so I can't just break it down, although judging by the frame, it wouldn't take much, and I'm not sure anyone would notice. I do get a response, but not the one I'm looking for. The door to apartment 5B opened. "He ain't home." I identify myself to the lady next door, and to be honest, I'm really guessing at the gender here. About my height, but about half my weight. I've seen heftier straws at McDonald's. She, and I only use that pronoun because of the curlers in her hair, says that Borga hadn't been around for a few days. "I can tell 'cause you hear everything goes on here. If you listen hard enough, you can hear that guy in 2F eating potato chips. Hey, you got a cigarette? I'm out." I explain that I don't smoke, and with that, she retreats into her apartment. Admittedly, I heard an odd noise, but I chalked it up to an air conditioner or something. As I descend the stairs, it did seem to get louder and did seem to be coming from 2F. Maybe it was potato chips. And it was just as likely that Borga wasn't home. I get Faye and Walker to stake out the house and check in with Manny, who has become our de facto coordinator between myself, O'Reilly, and Hunter. Manny says he's given the description of Borga to them, and they're staking out the remaining clubs owned by Orlov. Not a bad idea. I ask Manny for more about Borga, mainly occupation. Manny says, according to his file, he calls himself a comedian, but his financials say he's not doing that great at it. Maybe that's the issue. I ask Manny if there's any other comedy clubs in town, and he tells me the only other one that specifically does comedy is the Glowing Mushroom, and he gives me the address. When I reach the club, I ask for the owner and get introduced to Mallory Reeves, sole owner and manager of the club. I fill her in on the basics of the case, including showing her a picture of Tim Borga. "He looks familiar, but he went by a different name. He auditioned here a few times as, Bill Jobs. Had a lot of technology-based humor. Well, that's what he said anyway. I didn't get it. That's why I didn't give him any stage time. He comes here a lot, though." She scans the crowd. Ronald Powell is on the stage tonight. Never heard of him, but that means nothing. "There he is, about 3 tables back on the left." Her directions make him easy to spot. I make my way to the left side of the club and work my way forward. I don't want him to see me coming and do something stupid. Instead, it's me who does something stupid. I bump into a waitress who spills a drink on my suspect. Borga, of course, jumps up and turns on her and sees me and the badge in my hand. So much for stealth or quiet apprehension of the suspect. He grabs the waitress, pulls out a knife, and holds it to her throat. "Don't come near me, man! I'll do it! You're just gonna let me walk out!" The crowd immediately scatters, knocking over tables and drinks all over the club. I do not draw my weapon. I know that would only add to the chaos and likely lead to someone getting unnecessarily hurt. Besides, there is one fairly substantial obstacle between Borga and the door. As Borga is backing away from me toward the door, he somehow misses seeing security guard Phineas Jones. Jones rather deftly grabs the knife and yanks it away. As Borga turns to see what happened to his knife, he sees Jones's massive fist heading for his face. I wince with sympathy and chuckle a bit and nod a thanks to Phineas, who returns the favor, and I take Borga into custody. Presto! No one hurt. Except Borga, and maybe Roland Powell's act. During interrogation, I discover the true motive for Tim Borga's rampage. The clubs he torched were ones that turned him down. I'm tired of being the unappreciated, underpaid tech guy. I want to make people laugh. I'm funny with the other techs. They said I should try it out, but nobody laughed during my auditions. I mean, come on, tell me this isn't funny. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb? Come on, how many? Come on. He pauses like I'm supposed to actually guess. Finally, he shouts, "None! It's a hardware problem! Get it?" Unfortunately, I do get that joke. It's just not that funny. I ask him about Billy Bale. "Yeah, Billy was nice to me. I just wanted to show him what I was doing. I thought he could appreciate it. But he said that what I was doing was wrong. He was going to turn me in. I had to do it. But I didn't want to. Does that count for something?" I shake my head and leave him in interrogation. Making the world laugh is a good idea. We all need more humor. But that's not the way a comedian should set the world on fire. Maybe that's the punchline. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you have any comments, questions, or want to submit your own story, contact me through the website 2pagesofmystery.com or just email me at 2pom@steele42.com. I've been Rob Steele, and you've been listening to 2 Pages of Mystery. So until next time, keep 'em guessing.